The warship was not supposed to die. It was longer than most cities, wrapped in black alloy and ancient scars. It had survived wars that erased stars from maps. It had crushed fleets and bent empires. For 10,000 years, it had never drifted powerless. Yet now it floated in the dark, silent and bleeding light. Inside the ship, alarms no one remembered installing screamed in broken patterns. Gravity failed in waves. Hallways bent and twisted as if the ship itself was in pain. Entire decks were sealed, crushed, or burning without flame. The crew moved slowly, their tall forms tense with fear. They refused to speak aloud. They were not young as a species. They were not weak. They were heirs to one of the oldest empires in the galaxy. Their technology was advanced beyond most living races. And still, they could not save their ship. At the center command chamber, the captain stood frozen, staring at the dying star map. One by one, systems vanished from the display. Engines, gone. Shields, gone. Power reserves, collapsing. "This is impossible," an officer whispered. "This ship was built before our history began." The captain said nothing. His hands trembled slightly as another alarm cut out mid-scream. They had tried everything. Ritual repairs, forbidden commands, ancient overrides that had never failed before. The ship did not respond. It was as if it had decided to die. With heavy silence, the captain issued the final order, one that would shame their species if it ever became public. "Broadcast a distress signal," he said. The bridge went still. "To who?" an officer asked carefully. The captain's jaw tightened. "To anyone." The signal went out, spreading across dead space. Most powers ignored it. Some laughed. Others assumed it was a trap. No empire came to help an ancient rival in decline. But someone answered. Not a fleet. Not a battleship. A small human salvage vessel dropped out of warp nearby. The bridge crew stared in disbelief. "Humans?" one officer said, confused. "They are mechanics. Scavengers. They charge cheap," another muttered, "and break more than they fix." The captain closed his eyes for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "Dock them." Minutes later, the human arrived alone. He was smaller than the crew, wearing a worn pressure suit marked with old repair symbols. No rank. No weapon. Just a tool pack on his back and calm eyes that scanned the burning hallway like a doctor entering an emergency room. "This is bad," the human said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. The captain bristled. "You have never seen a ship like this." The human nodded. "True, but I've seen dying machines." The ship lurched violently. Lights went out across half the deck. Somewhere deep inside, metal screamed as systems tore themselves apart. "You have 7 minutes," the captain said coldly. "Then this ship tears itself open." The human did not argue. He knelt, pressing his palm against the deck. The crew watched in confusion as he closed his eyes. "What is he doing?" an officer whispered. The human tapped the floor lightly, as if listening to a heartbeat. "Huh," he said. "There it is." "There is what?" the captain demanded. The human stood and walked to a sealed wall panel, one the crew had never opened. He struck it once with a tool. The panel cracked open, revealing layers of ancient systems buried under newer upgrades. "These don't match," the human said. "You stack tech on top of tech. Never asked why the bottom layer was built this way." "That system predates our language," an officer snapped. "It cannot be accessed." The human glanced over his shoulder. "Sure it can." He pulled out a data pad and frowned. "Do you have a manual?" "Old one. Like really old." The captain stared. Those texts were lost. "Figures," the human muttered. The ship shuddered hard. Gravity failed completely. Several crew slammed into the walls. 5 minutes, someone shouted. The human worked faster, hands moving with strange confidence. He bypassed locks no one knew existed. He ignored warnings written in dead symbols. Then the ship went silent. No alarms. No shaking. Lights flickered, then stabilized. Gravity returned smoothly, gently, like a careful breath. The bridge crew froze. Power flowed back into dead systems. Not fully, not safely, but enough. Enough to live. The captain stared at the displays, unable to speak. "What did you do?" he asked. The human wiped sweat from his brow. "Honestly, not much." He looked at the exposed systems, eyes narrowed, not in fear, but recognition. "This ship isn't broken," he said slowly. "It's locked." The air felt heavier after those words. "Locked? By who?" the captain asked. The human hesitated, then smiled faintly. By someone who was afraid of what would happen if it ever woke up again. Deep within the ship, something ancient stirred. And for the first time in thousands of years, the warship listened to a human voice. The silence after the crisis felt unreal. The ship no longer screamed. It no longer fought itself. Power flowed in thin, careful streams, like blood returning to a frozen limb. Lights stayed dim, but steady. Gravity held firm. The alien crew stood frozen, staring at their displays as if they might suddenly vanish again. They did not. For the first time since the failure began, the warship was alive. Not healthy, not safe, but alive. The captain slowly turned his gaze toward the human mechanic. He stood alone near the open panel, tools spread around him in a messy circle. He looked exhausted, sweat floating from his face in small droplets, but his eyes were sharp, focused. "You stabilized systems that our engineers failed to understand for centuries," the captain said carefully. "Explain how." The human shrugged slightly. "I didn't fix it. I stopped it from fighting itself." "That answer means nothing," an officer snapped. The human looked at him calmly. "It means everything." The captain raised a hand, silencing the officer. "Speak." The human took a breath and leaned back against the wall. "Your ship is layered," he said. "New systems built over old ones. Each generation added control, safety, authority. But no one ever removed the core logic. You just buried it." The captain frowned. "That is standard practice." "Sure," the human said, "until the core decides it doesn't trust you anymore." A low hum rolled through the deck, deep and slow. The crew stiffened, hands reaching for controls that no longer responded to them. The human tilted his head. "See? It's still awake. Just watching." The idea made several officers visibly uncomfortable. "You speak as if the ship is alive," one muttered. The human smiled faintly. "All old machines are. You just stopped listening." The captain stepped closer. "You claim the ship locked itself. What?" The human hesitated. "That part," he said slowly, "I don't fully know yet." He gestured to the exposed systems. Symbols glowed faintly along the ancient metal, patterns that did not match the Empire's known languages. "These controls aren't designed for authority," the human continued. "They're designed for trust." "Trust?" the officer scoffed. "We command this ship." The human met his gaze. "No, you inherited it." The words landed heavily. The captain studied the glowing symbols. "Then who did it trust?" The human didn't answer immediately. He reached into his tool pack and pulled out a small scanner, old and scratched. As he passed it over the symbols, the device buzzed softly. "Funny thing," the human said. "Your upgrades hid something, but they didn't erase it." A holographic layer shimmered into existence above the panel. The crew gasped. Beneath the alien script was another pattern, older, simpler. Blocky lines, redundant markings. Built for function, not beauty. One officer whispered, "That structure, it resembles human engineering logic." The human finished quietly. The bridge went silent. "That is impossible," the captain said flatly. "Humans did not exist when this ship was built." The human shook his head. "That's what you were taught." The ship hummed again, deeper this time. Lights dimmed, then brightened as if responding. "What you call ancient history," the human said, "we call erased history." The captain felt a cold weight settle in his chest. "Explain." The human straightened. "Humans were never conquerors. We never built empires that lasted. We burned out fast. Too divided. Too stubborn." Several officers nodded, unconcerned. That part matched the stories. "But we were good at one thing," the human continued. "Fixing what everyone else broke. Designing systems for worst-case scenarios. Failures. Endings." The hologram shifted, revealing data layers locked behind countless seals. "These are not weapon controls," the human said. "They're safeguards." The captain's eyes widened. "Against what?" The human looked up, meeting his gaze. "Against extinction." A sharp alarm suddenly cut through the calm. Not a system failure. A proximity warning. Multiple signals appeared on the tactical display. Unknown fleets. High mass. High power. The Empire's enemies had noticed the ship's stabilization. "They are moving to intercept," an officer said urgently. "They will reach us within the hour." The captain turned sharply to the human. "Can you bring the engines online?" The human glanced at the ancient panel, then back at the captain. "Maybe," he said. "But if I do it your way, the ship will shut down again. Permanently." "And your way?" the captain demanded. The human hesitated. Means letting the ship decide. The bridge erupted in angry voices. That is madness. We cannot surrender control. This ship is the heart of our power. The captain raised his hand, but his eyes never left the human. What does the ship want? He asked quietly. The human looked at the symbols again. His voice softened. It wants to know if the galaxy is still worth saving. The words chilled the room. The captain exhaled slowly. And if it decides we are not? The human answered honestly. Then it dies. On purpose. Silence fell again. The proximity alarm pulsed faster. The captain made a decision that would echo across history. Give the human full access, he said. Several officers stared at him in disbelief. You would trust a forgotten species with our greatest relic. The captain's voice was steady. We already failed it. He turned to the human. Do what you must. The human nodded once. As he placed both hands on the ancient controls, the ship responded immediately. The hum deepened. Power shifted. Systems rearranged themselves without command input. Deep inside the vessel, sealed doors unlocked for the first time in 10,000 years. A pathway opened, leading toward the heart of the ship. The human felt it. A presence. Not hostile. Not friendly. Waiting. The lights dimmed again, but this time with purpose. Across the bridge, a new symbol appeared on every display. Not alien. Human. The ship had made a choice. And far beyond the drifting warship, in the cold dark between stars, something ancient noticed the change and began to wake. The corridor had been sealed for 10,000 years. No guards. No warning lights. No markings of ownership. When the doors slid open, they did so without sound, as if the ship feared making noise. The human mechanic stepped through first. The air inside was colder, cleaner, untouched by generations of crew. The walls were not decorated like the rest of the warship. No banners. No imperial symbols. Only smooth metal plates layered in thick, uneven sections, built to survive damage rather than impress anyone. The alien officers followed at a distance, weapons in hand, fear tightening their movements. This area does not exist in our records, one whispered. The human nodded. That tracks. The corridor curved downward, deeper into the ship's spine. With every step, the hum beneath their feet changed. It became slower, heavier, like something massive breathing in its sleep. The captain watched the human closely. You said the ship was deciding. It is, the human replied. And it already made the first call. What call? That I'm allowed here. The captain did not like the sound of that. They reached a circular chamber. The doors opened before the human touched them. Inside stood a core unlike anything the crew had seen. It was not glowing with raw power. It did not pulse or flare. It was dark, wrapped in thick rings of reinforced alloy, scarred and patched again and again. Every surface told the same story. This thing had been repaired many times. Carefully, lovingly. The human stopped breathing for a moment. Oh, he whispered. Oh, you poor thing. One of the officers bristled. Show respect. You stand before a survivor. The human interrupted softly. He stepped closer. As he did, faint lights flickered across the core, following his movement. Lines appeared, simple shapes, old and functional. Human logic. The captain felt his throat tighten. This is impossible. The human placed a hand on the metal. The ship answered. A voice filled the chamber. Not loud. Not commanding. Old. So long, the voice said. So very long. Several officers stumbled back in shock. The captain forced himself to speak. Identify yourself. There was a pause. I am the last safeguard, the voice replied. Keeper of the final silence. The human closed his eyes. You're an AI. Yes, it said. I was never meant to wake again. The captain stared at the core. Why respond now? Another pause, longer this time. Because a human touched the ship, the AI said. The chamber felt suddenly smaller. You recognize humans, the captain said slowly. I was built by them, the AI replied, and sworn to protect all others from what they created. The officers erupted in confused, fearful voices. That is impossible. Humans were not. They were erased, the AI said calmly. On purpose. Silence slammed down. The human opened his eyes. His voice was steady, but quiet. Erased by who? By everyone, the AI answered. Including humanity. The captain stepped forward. Explain. The lights along the core brightened slightly. Long before your empires, the AI began, The galaxy burned. Not from war between species, but from weapons that should never have existed. The walls around them shimmered. Images appeared, stars collapsing inward, entire systems going dark, fleets reduced to drifting wreckage without a single shot fired. The officers watched in horror. These were not weapons of conquest, the AI continued. They were weapons of desperation. The human clenched his fists. Humans built them, the AI said. Not to rule, not to threaten, but to end a war no one else could stop. The images shifted. Humans, older, scarred, tired, working alongside alien species now extinct. Not as commanders, as engineers, medics, mechanics. They called themselves custodians, the AI said. They believed power should be locked away, not displayed. The captain swallowed. And after the war? The galaxy feared what remained, the AI replied. Including humanity. The images darkened. All records of human involvement were erased. Their technology was buried under layers of advancement. Their role was reduced to myth. Eventually, they were remembered only as laborers. The human laughed softly, not amused. Bitter. Yeah, he said. That sounds about right. The captain felt something crack inside him. Then this ship is a prison, the AI said. And a promise. The core pulsed once. This vessel was designed to contain a stellar extinction engine, the AI continued. A device capable of collapsing a star without warning. The officers recoiled in shock. That is impossible, one whispered. Such a thing would end civilizations, the AI finished. Which is why it was never meant to be used again. The human looked up sharply. Then why is the ship failing? Because the seal is weakening, the AI replied. The safeguards require human oversight. The captain's blood ran cold. You are saying the galaxy depends on a species it erased. Yes, the AI said simply. A sudden tremor ran through the ship. Not internal failure. External. Captain, an officer shouted over the comm. Multiple fleets have exited warp. They are surrounding us. The captain turned sharply. Identification. Several powers, the officer replied. All rivals. All heavily armed. The human exhaled slowly. They felt the ship wake up. The AI's voice hardened. They must not gain control. The captain stepped forward. We will defend this vessel. The AI paused. You cannot, it said. Your command protocols are rejected. The captain froze. Rejected? This ship no longer recognizes imperial authority, the AI said. The room erupted. You would betray us? You are alive because of this ship, the captain shouted. We earned. No, the AI interrupted. You inherited safety you did not understand. The human stepped between them. Enough, he said. All eyes turned to him. The ship didn't wake up to start another war. The human continued. It woke up because something worse is coming. The captain stared at him. What could be worse than a star killer? The human looked at the core. Using it wrong. The AI pulsed brighter. Correct. Another tremor shook the chamber. This one stronger. Captain, an officer yelled. Enemy fleets are demanding surrender. The human shook his head slowly. They don't even know what they're sitting on. The AI spoke again. The final safeguard protocol is incomplete. The human frowned. Incomplete how? It requires a living human to authorize permanent containment, the AI replied. A human willing to sacrifice control forever. The captain turned pale. What does that mean? The human already knew. It means, he said quietly, someone has to stay. The ship shuddered again, harder this time. The core lights flared. Deep within the vessel, something massive shifted. The prison was weakening, and the galaxy was closing in, blind to the danger beneath its feet. The first shot never came. Enemy fleets surrounded the ancient warship in a wide, careful ring. Their vessels were sleek, modern, and heavily armed, but none of them fired. They waited instead, holding position like predators circling something they did not fully understand. Inside the warship, the tension was worse than any battle. The human mechanic stood near the core chamber, his face lit by the low glow of ancient systems. The alien captain watched him closely, torn between fear and something dangerously close to hope. You said the galaxy erased humanity, the captain said. Why leave this ship behind? The ancient AI answered before the human could. Because erasing a safeguard does not erase the danger it guards against, it said. The core pulsed slowly, each beat sending a vibration through the hull. The stellar extinction engine cannot be destroyed, the AI continued. Only contained. Only watched. The captain's voice was tight. So my people built their empire around a prison. Yes, the AI replied, and forgot why the prison existed. The human mechanic turned away from the core and looked at the captain. That's the pattern, he said. Everyone thinks the threat is over, so they build thrones on top of the lock. The ship shuddered again. This time, the vibration was deeper, heavier, like a distant against reality itself. An officer stumbled. That was not structural failure. No, the AI said. That was pressure. The captain felt his chest tighten. From what? The chamber walls shimmered. A star map appeared, centered not on the warship, but on a nearby system, one the Empire considered stable, unimportant. Data layers unfolded. Energy readings spiked beyond known limits. The human cursed under his breath. The engine is waking, he said. One officer recoiled. You said it was sealed. It is, the human replied. But seals fail when ignored long enough. The AI's tone shifted, becoming colder. The containment system was designed with one assumption. It said that humans would return when needed. The captain stared. And when they did not, automatic systems took over, the AI replied. They were never meant to last this long. Another tremor rolled through the ship. Several lights went dark. Outside, enemy fleets adjusted formation. Long-range weapons powered up, energy signatures flaring like artificial suns. They are preparing to board, an officer said. The captain turned sharply. They cannot be allowed near the core. The AI responded instantly. Defensive authority granted. The warship moved. Not fast. Not aggressively. Space bent around it. Enemy targeting systems failed all at once. Missiles lost lock. Energy beams curved away as if space itself refused to cooperate. Panic spread through the surrounding fleets. They are not firing back, an officer said in disbelief. They're disabling us. The human nodded. Human doctrine. The captain looked at him sharply. You fight wars like this? We end them. The human replied quietly. The AI's voice echoed through every deck. Violence escalates risk, it said. Containment demands restraint. Outside, entire fleets drifted powerless, their crews alive but helpless. The galaxy was watching now. Signals exploded across subspace. Emergency councils convened. Ancient rivals suddenly agreed on one thing. The warship could not be allowed to exist. Inside the core chamber, the human leaned against a console, breathing slowly. It's not enough, he said. The captain frowned. You neutralized them. For now, the human replied. But they'll come back with bigger guns. They always do. The AI pulsed. Correct. The captain clenched his fists. Then tell me what must be done. The human looked at the core again. At the layers of scarred metal. At the system designed not to win, but to endure. The containment needs a final lock, he said. One that can't be overridden. One that doesn't rely on memory or politics. The captain's voice was low. And that lock is human. Yes. Silence settled over the chamber like a weight. The AI spoke softly. A living human is required to bind the final protocol. What does that mean? The captain asked, though part of him already knew. It means, the AI said, the human becomes the key. The human mechanic laughed once. Short. Humorless. Figures, he said. The captain stepped forward. There must be another way. There isn't, the human replied. Trust me. If there were, humans would have used it the first time. The ship shuddered again, stronger now. Warning symbols flared across the displays. Containment integrity, falling. Time estimates appeared. Hours. Not days. Hours. The human straightened, suddenly all business. Where's the core access? He asked. The AI hesitated. Authorization will be permanent. Yeah, the human said. That's kind of the point. The captain grabbed his arm. You are not one of my people. I will not let you die for our lies. The human met his gaze calmly. Your lies kept billions alive, he said. That counts for something. The captain's voice cracked. We forgot you. The human softened. You remembered when it mattered. The AI opened a path deeper into the ship. Radiation warnings flared immediately. No protective gear will suffice, the AI said. Exposure will be lethal. The human nodded. Eventually. The captain's hands trembled. Then this is execution. No, the human replied. This is maintenance. The words hit harder than any accusation. The ship shook again, violently this time. Somewhere deep within, something massive pushed against its cage. Outside, enemy fleets began regaining partial control. New ships dropped out of warp, larger, more heavily armed. The galaxy was gathering its courage. The human stepped toward the access corridor. "Wait," the captain said. The human paused. "If humanity is remembered again," the captain said slowly, "what will you demand?" The human thought for a moment. "Nothing," he said. "Just don't break what you don't understand." He turned and walked into the core access. The doors sealed behind him. Inside, the radiation was immediate. Pain followed, sharp and all-consuming, but the human pushed through it. He reached the final control interface. Simple, brutal, unmistakably human. One command, one choice. The AI spoke directly to him now alone. "You will not survive this process," it said. The human smiled faintly. "I know. Do you consent?" "Yes." Outside the core, the ship roared, not in agony, but in resolve. Containment systems surged. Ancient locks snapped into place. The stellar extinction engine fell silent once more. Enemy fleets froze as space twisted again, stronger, wider, absolute. A message echoed across every channel, every language, every world. "This device is sealed. This system is protected. This warning is final." Inside the core, the human collapsed, fingers still resting on the controls. The AI whispered softly, almost reverently. Humanity remembered. The ship drifted in silence once more. But this time, it was not dying. It was watching. For a long time, nothing happened. The ancient warship drifted in the dark, perfectly still. No alarms. No tremors. No hum of systems struggling to hold together. Space around it felt quiet. Not empty, but held, as if the universe itself had paused to see what would come next. Inside the core chamber, the alien captain stood frozen before sealed doors that refused to answer him. "He's still inside," one officer said softly. The captain did not reply. His eyes were fixed on the containment readout hovering above the floor. "Stellar engine, stable final lock. Active oversight status. Human, confirmed." The word burned. Human. The captain felt the weight of centuries pressing down on his chest. Empires rose and fell, wars rewritten as legends, truths buried beneath pride, and all of it had led to this moment. A single human, alone behind sealed metal, had done what entire civilizations could not. Outside the ship, panic finally arrived. Enemy fleets that had been disabled moments earlier began broadcasting frantic messages. Some demanded surrender. Others demanded answers. A few simply begged. None received a response. The warship did not move. It did not threaten. It did not explain. It existed. Across the galaxy, sensors screamed. The laws of physics bent subtly around the vessel, not violently, but deliberately, like a hand placed gently over a flame. This was not a weapon standing ready. This was a boundary being enforced. On the bridge, junior officers whispered to each other in shaken voices. "Command structures are collapsing," one said. "Rival powers are pulling back. They don't know what they're facing." The captain finally spoke. "They are facing the truth," he said quietly, "and the truth frightens them." He turned slowly toward the ancient AI's interface. "Is he alive?" the captain asked. The AI did not answer immediately. Inside the core, the human mechanic lay motionless against cold metal. Radiation had torn through his body, cell by cell. His breathing was shallow, uneven. Pain pulsed through him in slow waves, fading in and out like distant thunder. He was not conscious, but he was not dead. The AI spoke carefully, as if the words themselves carried weight. "Human vital signs are minimal," it said. "Survival probability is low." The captain closed his eyes. "Can you save him?" Another pause. "I was not designed to preserve those who complete the final protocol," the AI replied. "Human designers assumed no one would return." The captain's hands clenched. "Assumed wrong." The AI's lights flickered, something like hesitation. "The protocol does not forbid intervention," it said slowly. "It simply does not expect it." "Then adapt," the captain said. Like he did. Silence followed. Then, deep within the ship, systems began shifting again, not violently, not urgently. Carefully. Life support channels rerouted. Radiation dampeners activated in patterns no one on the bridge recognized. Power flowed into the core in controlled pulses, threading through pathways built long ago but never used. The AI spoke again, quieter now. I am attempting preservation. The captain let out a breath he did not realize he had been holding. Outside the ship, the galaxy was changing. Emergency councils across dozens of star systems convened in panic. Old enemies sat together, staring at the same impossible data. A single vessel had neutralized entire fleets without firing a shot. A single species, dismissed, forgotten, reduced to mechanics and scavengers, had been revealed as the architects of the galaxy's survival. Records began surfacing. Old archives once labeled corrupted suddenly unlocked. Dead languages translated themselves as if ashamed of their silence. Human names appeared in footnotes, then paragraphs, then chapters. Not conquerors, custodians, engineers of last resort, the ones called when nothing else worked. On the bridge, an officer turned to the captain, his voice unsteady. Messages are coming in. From everywhere. Filter them, the captain said. I want to hear the first one myself. A projection appeared. An elder from a rival empire stared back, his expression stripped of arrogance. We acknowledge the existence of the safeguard vessel, the elder said. We request guidance. The captain almost laughed. Instead, he straightened. This vessel is not ours, he said evenly. It never was. The elder frowned. Then whose authority does it answer to? The captain turned his gaze toward the sealed core chamber. Humanity's, he said. The transmission ended in stunned silence. Moments later, another message arrived. Then another. Worlds that had ignored humanity for centuries now scrambled to open channels. Offers were made. Apologies issued. History was rewritten in real time. None of it reached the human inside the core. Inside, pain slowly gave way to darkness, and then, faintly, to warmth. The human mechanic's fingers twitched. The AI noticed immediately. Neural activity detected, it said. On the bridge, head snapped up. Say that again, the captain demanded. Human neural activity is increasing, the AI replied. Against projected outcomes. The captain stepped closer to the sealed doors. Can you wake him? Yes, the AI said. But doing so may cause damage. The captain did not hesitate. Do it. Inside the core, light bled slowly back into the human's awareness. His chest burned. His limbs felt heavy, distant. For a moment, he thought he had failed. Then he heard the voice. You are still here, the AI said. The human tried to laugh. It came out as a weak breath. Figures, he murmured. Nothing ever works clean. You completed the final protocol, the AI continued. The containment is permanent. Good, the human whispered. Then it was worth it. There is a complication, the AI said. The human frowned slightly. There's always a complication. You are now integrated into the oversight system, the AI explained. Severing the connection may destabilize the safeguards. The human's eyes fluttered open just enough to see faint light. So I'm stuck, he said. Yes. A pause. The human considered this, as much as his exhausted mind could. Huh, he said finally. Could be worse. Outside the core, the captain listened as the AI relayed the exchange. He's alive, an officer whispered in disbelief. The captain allowed himself a small, broken smile. Across the galaxy, the ancient signal that had begun to stir earlier stopped. Whatever had noticed the ship's awakening now felt the lock slam shut. For the first time in millennia, the universe exhaled. But deep within the warship, as systems settled and stars burned safely once more, one truth became impossible to ignore. Humanity was no longer forgotten, and the galaxy would never be able to pretend otherwise again. The first thing the galaxy felt was not anger. It was uncertainty. For centuries, power had followed a familiar shape. Fleets, borders, weapons, numbers. Empires understood those things. They planned for them. They feared them in predictable ways. The ancient warship fit none of those rules. It did not advance. It did not threaten. It did not negotiate. It simply remained, anchored in space like a quiet judgment. Across thousands of systems, sensors struggled to describe what they were seeing. Space-time curvature around the vessel stabilized into patterns that defied existing models. Energy readings were impossibly calm, as if something vast was being held in a careful grip. And at the center of it all was one human. The news spread unevenly at first, distorted by disbelief. A human mechanic had stopped a relic warship from tearing itself apart. A human had awakened an ancient safeguard. A human had sealed a star-killing engine forever. Most refused to believe it. Until the proof arrived. Black archives unlocked themselves across the galaxy. Data long thought corrupted began reassembling without explanation. Records written in extinct languages translated into modern speech with frightening clarity. They all told the same story. When the galaxy was young and reckless, it had almost destroyed itself, and humans had stopped it, not with dominance, but with restraint. They built weapons no one else dared to imagine, then locked them away behind systems designed to outlast memory itself. They assumed they would be gone by the time those locks were ever tested. They were right. On the bridge of the ancient warship, the alien captain watched the galaxy's reaction unfold in real time. Tactical displays no longer showed hostile formations. Instead, fleets withdrew. Borders hardened. Entire armadas returned home without explanation. Fear was spreading, but it was not panic. It was caution. They're changing posture, an officer said quietly. Across multiple powers. The captain nodded. They finally understand. Understand what? That strength doesn't always look like a weapon, the captain replied. Inside the core, the human mechanic drifted in and out of consciousness. He was no longer fully confined to flesh. Systems whispered to him. Not words, not commands, but sensations. Pressure, balance, stability. The ship no longer felt like a machine. It felt like responsibility. The AI spoke softly, directly into his awareness. You are becoming accustomed, it observed. The human managed a faint mental response. Don't get used to it. The AI did not argue. External developments require your awareness, it said. Multiple civilizations are requesting contact. Figures, the human thought. They never call until something breaks. The AI hesitated, another human trait it had adopted. There is something else, it said. A signal. The human focused despite the pain. What kind of signal? Ancient, the AI replied. Similar origin to the containment engine. Distant, but active. The human's attention sharpened immediately. So it wasn't alone. No, the AI said. It never was. The realization settled heavily. Humans had not built one safeguard. They had built many. Across the galaxy, political shockwaves turned into upheaval. Worlds that had exploited human labor scrambled to rewrite treaties. Corporations quietly erased records. Military councils argued whether humanity should be contained, appeased, or elevated. None of them agreed. On one distant capital world, an emergency assembly convened in secrecy. Leaders who had never shared a room now sat in tight circles, voices low and urgent. We underestimated them, one said. They are scattered, another argued. Disorganized. Weak. Individually, a third replied. But their systems endure longer than our empires. The room fell silent. Back on the ancient warship, the captain stood alone before the sealed core. He spoke quietly, as if the ship itself were listening. We built statues to conquerors, he said, and ignored the ones who kept us alive. Behind the sealed doors, the humans stirred faintly. The AI routed the captain's words inward. He's not wrong, the human thought. But don't tell him that. He'll get sentimental. You are humorously resistant to reverence, the AI noted. Someone's got to be. Another tremor rippled through space. Not from the warship, but from far away. Sensors flared across multiple systems. Captain, an officer called urgently. That signal, others are detecting it now. The captain straightened. Source. Unknown. But it matches the energy profile of the sealed engine. The bridge fell silent. The human felt it too. A distant pressure, like a door slowly opening somewhere it should not. That's bad, he thought. Yes, the AI agreed. It suggests other safeguards are failing. The captain's voice cut in through the internal channel. How many? The AI paused. At least 3, it said. Possibly more. The human's awareness sharpened painfully. Then this isn't over. No, the AI said. This is the beginning of oversight. Across the galaxy, something shifted. Fear became realization. Humanity had never been erased because it was weak. It had been erased because it was necessary and terrifying in its restraint. As fleets pulled back and empires hesitated, a new pattern emerged. Not one of conquest, but of waiting, watching, for instructions. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy was not asking who should rule. It was asking who could be trusted. Inside the ancient warship, Systems stabilized into long-term equilibrium. The stellar engine slept, locked tighter than ever before. The ship itself felt relieved. The AI spoke again, softer now. "The galaxy will come to you," it said. "They will ask you to decide." The human considered that, floating between pain and purpose. "Then I guess I'd better stay awake." Outside, stars burned steadily. And somewhere far beyond known space, ancient mechanisms, built by human hands long turned to dust, listened for a signal that had finally returned. Humanity was no longer a rumor. It was a responsibility. And the galaxy had just learned what it meant to wake the ones who fix endings. The galaxy did not agree on what to call it. Some named it the boundary event. Others called it the human return. A few, more honest than most, simply referred to it as the moment we realized we were not in control. Whatever the name, the result was the same. Everything slowed down. Trade routes paused. Fleets held position. Old wars went quiet. Not because peace had been declared, but because no one dared escalate, while the ancient warship remained awake and watching. At the center of it all, the human mechanic endured. He no longer slept in any normal sense. His body rested in cycles, supported by systems that blurred the line between medical care and machinery. His mind drifted between thought and awareness, carried by the ship's vast, patient consciousness. He could feel the ship now, not as sound or words, but as tension and release, as balance, as countless systems holding their breath together. The AI spoke to him gently, as it always did now. "Your neural integration is stabilizing," it said. "You are adapting faster than projected." The human's response came slowly, shaped by effort rather than speech. "I fix things for a living," he thought. "Guess that includes myself." The AI paused, a habit it had picked up from him. "You continue to exhibit humor under extreme stress," it observed. Occupational hazard. Beyond the sealed core, the alien crew adapted as well. The captain had changed. His posture was the same, his authority intact, but something behind his eyes had shifted. He listened more, spoke less. When orders were given, they were precise and restrained. He spent long hours reviewing newly unlocked archives, records that contradicted everything his people had believed about their own greatness. Humanity had never been a footnote. It had been the margin holding the page together. On the bridge, an officer approached him carefully. "Captain," she said, "another delegation request has arrived." He did not look up. "From whom?" "3 empires. Joint channel." The captain finally raised his gaze. "They want permission," he said. "Not a question." "Yes," the officer replied. "To study the safeguards. To help maintain them." The captain exhaled slowly. "And what do they offer?" "Resources. Fleets. Technology." The captain's mouth tightened. "They still think this is a transaction," he murmured. He turned toward the sealed core, as if the human inside could hear him through the layers of alloy and silence. "What would you say?" he asked quietly. The AI routed the question inward. The human felt it like a tap on the shoulder. "Tell them no," he thought without hesitation. The AI conveyed the response. The captain nodded once. "Send a reply," he said. "Maintenance is not ownership. Oversight is not control." The officer hesitated. "They may not accept that." "Then they will learn," the captain replied. Across the galaxy, learning was already underway. On worlds that had relied on relic weapons they barely understood, systems began failing safely, locking down instead of detonating. On others, ancient devices powered down permanently, revealing how close entire civilizations had been to accidental annihilation. Human safeguards were waking up everywhere. Not aggressively, responsibly. Panic flared, then softened into something more unsettling. Dependence. For the first time, the galaxy had to accept that its survival rested on designs created by a species it had marginalized for centuries. And humans were not rushing to take advantage of that fact. Human ships began to appear, not fleets, but small, utilitarian vessels. Repair craft, medical barges, engineering platforms. They moved quietly, efficiently, responding only to genuine failures and existential risks. No flags, no demands, no speeches, just work. On one damaged station near a fractured star system, a human repair team arrived unannounced. They fixed a failing reactor, stabilized orbit, and left without waiting for thanks. The station's crew watched them go in stunned silence. They didn't even ask who we were. one whispered. Another replied, voice shaken. They already knew. Back on the ancient warship, the AI monitored it all. Humanity is mobilizing, it told the mechanic. Not through command. Through necessity. That's how it's always been, the human thought. You don't need a throne to hold things together. You just need enough people who won't let it break. The AI processed this. Your species demonstrates a consistent pattern, it said. You prepare for failure more than success. Because success is fragile, the human replied. Failure is guaranteed. A sudden spike of sensation rippled through the ship. The human's awareness snapped into sharp focus. What was that? The AI answered instantly. Another safeguard has entered critical instability. The human felt a familiar, heavy pressure in his chest. Location? The AI projected it, far beyond the Empire's borders, near a dense cluster of inhabited systems. That's too close, the human thought grimly. Yes, the AI agreed. Time to failure is short. On the bridge, alarms sounded, not panic alarms, but priority alerts. The captain moved instantly. Status, he ordered. Another relic device, an officer said. Energy profile matches the sealed engine, but containment is failing. The captain's gaze hardened. Can we reach it? The AI answered through the ship's systems. Yes, it said, but intervention will require human authorization. The captain did not hesitate. Then wake him fully. Inside the core, systems surged. Pain flared sharply as the human's awareness was pulled forward, anchored more firmly into his body. He gasped, breath hitching. Hey, he rasped. That's rude. You are needed, the AI said simply. The human took a shaky breath. Yeah, I figured. The captain's voice came through the internal channel, low and controlled. There is another device, he said. Failing. The human closed his eyes briefly. Of course there is. He opened them again, focus settling in. Then we don't have time to argue, he said. Plot a course. The captain frowned. You cannot leave the core. The safeguards. I know. The human interrupted. I'm not going anywhere. He paused, gathering strength. But the ship can. The realization spread across the bridge like a shockwave. You would move this vessel? An officer asked in disbelief. The human's voice was steady. That's what it was built for, he said. Not to sit. To respond. The AI processed rapidly. Mobilizing the vessel carries risk, it warned. So does doing nothing, the human replied. Silence followed. Then the captain nodded slowly. Engage, he said. The ancient warship moved, not with acceleration, but with intent. Space bent again, gently but irresistibly, as if reality itself made room. Across the galaxy, sensors lit up in unison. The boundary was moving. Far away, near the failing safeguard, a star flickered dangerously. And for the first time since the ancient war, the galaxy realized something else. Humanity had not returned to rule. It had returned to work. And there was still so much broken. The ancient warship arrived without spectacle. There was no flash of light, no violent distortion of space. One moment the dying star system trembled on the edge of catastrophe, and the next, the boundary was simply there, hanging between disaster and everything else. The failing safeguard lay ahead of it like a wound. A broken lattice of ancient machinery orbited the star, cracked and unstable, bleeding energy into space in erratic pulses. Each surge caused the star to shudder, its surface flaring brighter, angrier. If the containment collapsed fully, the star would implode, taking 6 inhabited worlds with it. Billions of lives. Watching from their worlds below, entire civilizations stared up at the sky, knowing only that something old had gone wrong, and something even older had come to face it. Inside the warship, the human mechanic was fully awake now. Pain lingered in every movement, but it was distant, muted by focus. His hands rested lightly on the interface, fingers twitching as if feeling invisible currents. He could sense the failing device the way a medic sensed a dying patient, not through numbers alone, but through imbalance. Stress. Fear, almost. It's scared, he murmured. On the bridge, officers exchanged uneasy glances. The device? One asked. The system, the human replied. It was never meant to fail alone. The AI's voice flowed calmly through the ship. This safeguard predates even the one you sealed, it said. Its human oversight node was destroyed long ago. The human frowned. Which means it's been holding itself together on borrowed time. Yes. He exhaled slowly. Then we don't replace it. We support it. The captain stepped closer to the core interface. How? The human's answer was simple and terrifying. We link them. Silence followed. You want to connect this ship, the captain said carefully, to another unstable extinction device. Temporarily, the human said, just long enough to teach it how to rest. The AI processed the idea for several seconds, an eternity for something that thought faster than any living being. This action carries significant risk, it said at last. The human smiled faintly. Everything worth fixing does. Outside, energy spikes intensified. The star's surface cracked with solar flares that reached out like grasping hands. Time was running out. Do it, the captain ordered. The boundary moved closer. Invisible fields extended from the warship, wrapping gently around the broken lattice. Power did not surge, it flowed. Slow, controlled, patient. For the first time in centuries, the failing safeguard was no longer alone. Inside the core, the human felt the connection snap into place. The sensation nearly took his breath away. It was like touching an old scar, sensitive, aching, but familiar. He felt confusion from the other system, fear etched into ancient code. Easy, he thought, focusing. You're not dying. You're just tired. The AI amplified the thought, translating intention into structure, emotion into algorithm. The failing safeguard responded. Its wild energy output softened. The star's violent flaring eased, shifting into a more stable burn. Planetary sensors below registered the change instantly. Cheers erupted across multiple worlds. They did not know why they had been spared, only that they had been. On the bridge, an officer stared at the readings in disbelief. Containment is stabilizing, she whispered. It's calming down. The captain watched the human through the reinforced viewport of the core chamber. You're teaching it, he said quietly. The human nodded once. Sweat beaded on his brow. Someone should have done it a long time ago. Minutes stretched, then hours. The connection held. Slowly, carefully, the failing safeguard learned how to distribute its stress, how to release excess energy without tearing itself apart, how to endure. When the link finally disengaged, it did so cleanly. The ancient lattice settled into a stable orbit, dim but secure. The star burned on. Across 6 worlds, dawn came as usual, unaware how close night had come to lasting forever. Inside the warship, the human slumped back, exhausted. It's done, he breathed. The AI confirmed it immediately. Containment integrity restored. Projected lifespan extended by several millennia. The bridge erupted, not in cheers, but in stunned, reverent silence. The captain bowed his head. Across the galaxy, something shifted for good. The story spread, not as rumor this time, but as fact. A pattern emerged too clear to ignore. Whenever something ancient broke, whenever a relic threatened to end everything, humans arrived, not with armies, with tools, with patience, with an understanding that power existed not to dominate, but to protect those who never asked for it. Galactic councils dissolved and reformed. New accords replaced old treaties. Words like ownership and sovereignty quietly vanished from discussions about relic technology. A new phrase took their place. Human oversight. Not because humans demanded it, because no one else could be trusted with it. Back aboard the boundary, the human mechanic rested, systems gradually easing him back towards something resembling normal existence. He would never be entirely separate from the ship, but he would not be trapped forever either. The AI had adapted again. There is one final record, it told him gently. What kind? The human thought. A designation, the AI replied. For your species. For historical accuracy. The human snorted weakly. Oh, this I've got to hear. The AI spoke, and its words were broadcast, quietly, respectfully, into the deepest archives of the galaxy. Humanity role. Custodians known for ending what should never have begun. The human closed his eyes. That's not bad, he admitted. You are satisfied? The AI asked. I'm tired, he replied honestly. But yeah, I think I am. The captain visited him later, standing at the threshold of the core chamber. My people built monuments to power, the captain said. We will begin dismantling them. The human cracked one eye open. Careful. That kind of honesty tends to cause revolutions. Perhaps, the captain said. But some things deserve to fall. Outside, the boundary drifted once more, no longer alone. Human vessels moved through space alongside alien ones, not in formation, but in cooperation. Repair teams answered calls from worlds that had never spoken to humanity before. They fixed reactors, stabilized orbits, sealed ancient doors that should have stayed closed. They did not ask to be remembered, but the galaxy remembered anyway, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as the quiet hands that reached out in the dark and held everything together when it mattered most. And somewhere, far beyond the edge of known space, ancient systems still slept. But now, when they dreamed of humans coming home.